Memoirs of Beloved Mary, Mother of Jesus. Chapter 10. An Address by Beloved Mary, Mother of Jesus. November 27th, 1954. On Intercessory Prayer. Qualifications for Healing Temples. First Pentecost Celebration. Opportunity to carry cup to British Isles with Joseph of Arimathea. Visiting Luxor. Magnetizing Future Shrines. Beloved children of my heart, I bring you tonight the vital fire of my very self to give to you of the substance which I have gathered throughout the ages that have been. This has been qualified by my own consciousness and forms the glory of my causal body. My causal body is the storehouse from whence I draw forth that which is required to answer the calls of those who need help, the blessings so much needed by the sons and daughters of earth. Truly, it has been said that in the history of men's prayers, it has never been known for one single call to remain unanswered which has come up to me since I achieved my position of authority. I am the mother of all the souls belonging to this earth's evolutions, and for each of these I shall pray that they achieve the same great mastery and victorious manifestation as my own. Nothing has caused more conflict between right-thinking men and women than the possibility of intercession before the throne of the Heavenly Father by those who have attained their eternal freedom. I am quite sure that the great sect who protested against the possibility of such intercession has not fully understood the true meaning of the law. As I am the one called upon the most, perhaps, by a great number of mankind to intercede on behalf of the souls of men, it is the subject with which I can deal more delicately, and yet more clearly than almost any other one. Within your own precious hearts is the flame of immortal life, streaming from the heart of your own central source, God. Within your heart is God in action, and there is no power that can ever separate you from it, here or hereafter. No fear of eternal damnation, no requirement of creed or intermediary has any power to interfere when the soul determines within itself to return to God in oneness of consciousness. Even in your unascended realm, the prayer of a good friend gives the strength and vital essence of someone interested in you, which adds to the impetus of your aspiration that rises to the throne of the one Father. This added impetus magnetizes greater release to bless you on the return current of that energy. Then why cannot those of us who are your friends in this realm also intercede for you, just in the capacity of elder brothers and sisters, not because of position, not because of place, but because we are friends? We are vitally and deeply interested in your life, interested in your well-being, interested in your development. Then why deny us the same right of access to the Father on your behalf that you give freely one to another? How often do the words, "Pray for me," come from the lips of one who is going into trial? How often have you asked a heart friend, a parent, a child to intercede on your behalf before the Eternal? Just so, those who come in earnestness to the feet of Mary ask her intercession for themselves or a friend. This will add to their small efforts the strength and vital essence of my prayers and calls. The plea to me for intercession enables me to release all the magnetic power of those centuries of becoming free. I am merely a friend, giving of my life and drawing those currents from higher realms than the conscious soul of the aspirant can yet reach. By reason of certain applications and developments, some of us are able to go closer into the heart of the Father. There, becoming impregnated with the very substance of that life, health, vitality, and fire, we return, brimming over with the essence of divinity. We shower this light essence upon those who have called for help, each of us being merely messengers who embody the one life, the one principle of God. Each of us is a grail that carries the assistance needed from the one source into the world of form. Man does not divide his allegiance to the one God when he asks assistance of friendship. Therefore, to you within this room who wish the intercession of Mary, I come. Not for the purpose of worship, not for the purpose of idolatry, but I come with the same friendship and comradeship that you have one for another, magnified by my powers of greater freedom. Now, when you go forth again into the world at the close of this class, carry this great truth everywhere you can, that the intercession of the saints on behalf of mankind is but the same activity of invocation, adoration, and devotion which you send up in group work when you intercede on behalf of unborn children, on behalf of those passing through the veil called death, on behalf of the crippled or the insane. Ever, ever, as you grow in grace and light, does your consciousness intercede on behalf of those less fortunate than you, and your hand is offered to help them. So also is your other hand reaching up to those above you. I see you are comprehending this quite clearly, and I thank you. Beloved children, you are given a great opportunity to serve in this large city, an opportunity to become a heart center of healing light, which can become planetary in its radiation, if you endure. Many opportunities come to mankind from time to time, and to those who endure unto the end, there is given the white garment of victory. Why are certain places upon the surface of this planet chosen as focuses of protection, of healing, of purity? There are many reasons, beloved ones, all in accord with a scientific law. In ages that have been, there were golden eras when the angelic host were visible and tangible to the sight of men, and God beings who had never taken flesh bodies were still the recognized authority governing the spiritual as well as the secular life of the race. During these times, many foci were drawn forth at the various points upon the surface of the earth, and beautiful temples were builded. Within those temples, life streams were drawn together who had an affinity for the vibratory action of blessings that were flowing. As I told you last evening, these blessings flowed like living rivers of force down from those temples and out to bless the masses. When those foci were magnetized sufficiently, and when from the civilizations that reigned during those particular eras there were drawn life streams who were willing and loyal enough to guard the sacred fire, that God being who guarded it then gave the fire into the keeping of those individuals who so qualified to receive it. The priests and priestesses in these temples sustained the light that was given, and it became the spiritual nourishment and focus of balance for the people. In the Atlantean days, right here within the compass of your city, a mighty focus of healing was manifest. Here, as you have been told, was a great temple of light, and the lesser temples were visible too. Mankind was able to come into this temple from all over the planet and receive a certain balancing of the mind and body which was required to maintain perfect health and to sustain their physical bodies in dignity for as long as their holy Christ self desired that they should remain embodied. At the close of this Atlantean culture, When the physical temples were destroyed, the etheric temples remained there. The great and mighty diva Liberty chose to sustain those activities and currents pouring forth at inner levels, as well as the blessings that poured forth previously through the mental and physical worlds. Why do you think certain people are drawn to certain locations? It is because of the great light which has been focused there in the past and has become a magnet for the cities which rise in those locations. The people in the outer consciousness do not know what drew them. Then come the new opportunities through the dispensations made possible by the advent of the seventh ray of the Ascended Master Saint Germain. Now the live streams who have been active before in those same temples in earlier ages have volunteered to re-embody. They come from various points on the earth in answer to the heart call of the soul and are prepared again to magnetize and draw forth some of the etheric perfection which was known in the previous eras. Many of you have come across the oceans. You have come from faraway places to this great metropolis, and here you have made your home. You have come because of the opportunity to again magnetize and externalize certain healing currents to the glory of God and Saint Germain. That opportunity now lies within the palm of your hand. No man or God knows what any other man will do with opportunity, but those of us who are free. When we see opportunities so resting in the hands of frail chelas, then do our prayers rise to the heart of the eternal. Then do we make intercession that you may determine to see manifest and externalized that portion of the divine plan into which your gracious life streams may be woven. What do you think is required to so draw forth the healing focus of light? It is a good question for those who are deeply interested. Very, very many qualities are required for such a healing focus. In the outer consciousness, you have no concept of the drive of energy which would be directed toward any group if mankind en masse had the slightest knowledge that you had a way to alleviate distress. Mankind seeks surcease from pain, from illness, from disease, and also death. Mankind is like a sea that has no longer the control of the tide, but rushes ruthlessly toward that which will satisfy the need of the moment. I speak of this because I saw my son having to go out into the Sea of Galilee to snatch a moment's peace, an hour's sleep. And in those days there was not the means of communication which would allow the entire planet to know what he was doing. Then it was only the surge of local humanity. Beloved ones, for the establishing of such a mighty healing focus here, you will need invincible protection. Invoke the protection of Lord Michael and his great legions of angels. See them stand around this building with their swords of flame. This protection will have to be consciously drawn about you and your environment, long before the hour comes when the spiritual hem of your garment performs that first instantaneous healing. You will need Ascended Master discrimination, the capacity to seal the lips against revealing either the needs or the confidences of those who come for help. The complete absence of spiritual pride is also an absolute essential to successful accomplishment here, lest you unconsciously betray that which you do in secret behind closed doors, and draw such a surge of energy toward you that your small numbers and frail strength cannot yet handle. In order to have such a magnificent activity of cosmic healing, there are also other requisites which are very important. One must be willing to become an absolutely selfless servant of the Lord. This is the great individual surrender which every man makes within the secret recesses of his own heart and not in the presence of any other person. The willingness to lay upon the altar of humanity every personal satisfaction and pleasure in order to become as pure and selfless a vessel as possible. A willingness to endure and stand by until accomplishment is attained. Then comes the activity of perception, the training of the faculties by which conscious healings take place, the holding of the thought form, energizing it by feeling, and the radiation which enables it to lower that healing into externalized manifestation. It takes real divine love and faith. It takes the kind of love that beloved Buddha had when he first saw mankind's distresses, those distresses which had been hidden from him by the over-solicitude of his father. It is the love for mankind that will not let you rest while any among the race know imperfection, distress, or limitation. It also takes the faith that, in its scientific accuracy, the law cannot fail. One must know beyond the shadow of the faintest doubt that the efficacy of that law is dependent upon the constancy of the application. That application must be held until the condition yields and the necessary purity is drawn to produce and sustain the healing. This purity of which we speak is the purity of mind that keeps the mental body free from dwelling in secret, not only in class time, but all during the 24 hours of each day, upon any impure thoughts and feelings. Such impurity would requalify the crystal light substance through which might flow the directed healing current of the immaculate concept of the life stream. That purity requires nothing for itself, not even recognition or thanksgiving, and is absolutely selfless in every way. It lives just like a beam of light and allows the infinite power of the Father to render the service through you. Another requisite to success along these lines of endeavor is the power of concentration, staying with something until it is fulfilled consciously. How many of you have the constancy to remain with one application until any one life stream is completely released and relieved of every distress? Multiply that by 10 billion souls, representing every brother and sister of humanity, and you will know something of the demand of constancy. When no one face is more dear to you than another, when no one countenance draws from you more healing than another, but all mankind become your children, that is divine constancy. Then the infinite rhythm pours into your application systematically through visualization and through calls until you have the manifestation, no matter how long it takes. Oh, watch the rhythm of the sea, its rise and its fall, the rhythm of your seasons, your spring, autumn, winter, and summer, the rhythm of your tide, incoming and outgoing, and the rhythm with which you feed your physical body. Then you will have some understanding of the rhythm of application which is required to enable you to become a healing fountain for the masses. Spasmodic feeding of the energy of your life into spiritual activity does not make for cosmic momentum, children. If mankind were as spasmodic in the feeding of the intellect while they learned the arts or while they learned the professions, there would be very few who could act with efficacy. However, in spiritual matters, mankind feels that rhythm is so unimportant. It is one of the most important activities, and it is one reason why I am so grateful for the unbroken rhythm of these 4 days. It enables me to bring an increase each day of the currents and substance of myself into your worlds and through you to mankind. Last but not least, there is required the indestructible harmony and peace maintained among your own members, among your physical bodies, your mental, emotional, and etheric bodies, and your holy Christ selves. Each individual who becomes a part of a healing group must have his own bodies in accord before he becomes a conductor of merit. Then each such member must be in accord with the group director, and that group as one becomes a magnifying power of whatever God being you invoke. They also become a radiating center of those currents that flow forth into the atmosphere like the spokes of a wheel. That unbroken harmony maintained undisturbed year after year does draw forth magnificent activities for the blessings of earth and her people. Beloved ones, if you are desirous of specializing in the activity of healing through the natural affinity of your city and your own life streams, please take it seriously and endeavor to perfect your own vehicles so that you may become a glorious power here. From this center there can flow forth that light and blessing to all the race. It is an opportunity without parallel, one that has drawn me into your presence. It has drawn the attention of Kuan Yin and all of those of the angelic host, particularly beloved Uriel and the angels of ministration. It has also drawn my beloved Jesus and Lord Maitreya, for all of us desire to use your energies to conduct the blessings of healing to mankind at large. Now we shall return to our story and give you the blessing and the remembrance of it. As we recite these simple details, please accept the actual currents which flow from my heart, magnifying that particular quality which you chose to charge into your tube of light. This latter suggestion is for those of you who accepted my idea of the other evening, that you charge your individual tube of light with a specific quality of blessing to mankind as a Christmas gift to our beloved Jesus. At your call, this can be a sustained gift to your fellow men. After the ascension of the beloved Jesus from the hill of Bethany, those of us who knew of the coming of the Holy Spirit prepared for the first Pentecost. Our beloved Matthew was keeper of our funds, and it was his responsibility to see that we secured an upper chamber where the disciples might meet, right in Jerusalem. Here the first baptism of the sacred fire pouring through them gave them that comfort which their hearts so much desired, and that confidence and faith which their souls required. This they had formerly received from the proximity to Jesus' physical presence, but it seemed to recede from them with his ascending form. Right after the crucifixion and the resurrection, things were very quiet so far as the Sanhedrin and the Roman government were concerned, for they felt they had put an end to this particular menace to their authority. However, the beloved Jesus suggested that we should in no way draw attention to our small, humble community in Bethany. He asked us to go down into Jerusalem and prepare for that Pentecost, using great wisdom in all our actions so as not to draw upon our heads any undue wrath. Therefore, at that Pentecost with which you are all familiar, when the radiation of the beloved Holy Spirit poured down, the disciples were filled anew with vital fire, with the desire to go forth and preach the gospel. Now they felt even 1,000-fold more strong than they did when they were in the actual presence of the beloved Jesus. Personally, I was greatly relieved when this took place, because that 10 days after the ascension was a great drain upon my strength. They all leaned on me for faith and confidence in that seeming loss of the proximity of the physical association with their friend Jesus. For a time we abided in this comparative peace, and we planted our grain, flax, and trees. We sheared our sheep and wove our garments. In the evenings we wrote the simple Gospels. The women sewed and embroidered, and the disciples themselves taught those who came to us. Then one day there came a message from Joseph of Arimathea, who had great business holdings in the British Isles. It was requisite for him to sail west on a trip to Britain, and he gave us the invitation to accompany him. As we had been told by the beloved Jesus that some time, previous to our own victory and ascension, it would be necessary to carry the cup to the British Isles, we felt within ourselves that this was the hour of opportunity. At about this same time, we heard that Pilate was to be replaced by the Romans, and we knew then that the new governor would not be as lenient as Pilate had been. The disciples therefore thought it wise for me to be removed from that place temporarily. So we made our simple preparations to join Joseph's caravan and go west. Joseph of Arimathea, like all men of great wealth in his day, had many slaves, and those slaves manned the galleys of his boat. I said to him, "Joseph, we cannot carry that sacred cup with slave labor." He said, "No, truly that could not be." Then from among the Christians of our little band, we received offers from enough of the gentlemen to man each oar when required, when the winds of heaven did not provide the sufficient motivating power for the sails. We left John in Bethany to hold the daily tryst with our beloved Jesus. We also left Andrew and Mark, and with us we took Peter, James, Bartholomew, and Nathanael. We also took Mary of Bethany, but Martha remained at home to watch the household with her usual care. Pilate's wife also came with us, for she was to return to Rome, and we thought to leave her there en route. We were a simple but dedicated band. I remember as we all knelt that final morning and John gave us the benediction, we felt the presence of the beloved Jesus. The first bloom of my youth was gone, and the journey seemed long to me. I wondered within myself whether I should ever return to the scenes so dear to me because of the Christian pageant of which I had been a part. However, I did. I returned again. Tomorrow I shall tell you of those last days and of my own victory. However, today we shall continue the story of our journey. We passed Alexandria in Egypt, and Joseph asked me if I would like to visit Luxor. I was indeed delighted to have the opportunity. As you know, Alexandria is quite a distance from Luxor, and Joseph's boat could not take us all the way. So Joseph and his group waited for our return at Alexandria, while Peter, James, a few others, and myself went to Luxor. There I renewed my association with the magnificent hierarch of that retreat, Serapis Bey, and gave him my personal gratitude for his assistance in that victory of the first resurrection morning. I stood in the halls of Luxor, smelled the fragrance of those lovely lilies, and felt the flame of the ascension pass through my body. I so much enjoyed that association, short and sweet as it was. Then, as we returned to Alexandria, to Joseph and his group, and joined our caravan, we stopped at the island of Crete, near Greece. There we stayed a month, and the beloved Jesus in his great kindness came to us and helped us magnetize and prepare the way for the great persuader, the Apostle Paul, today the ascended Master Hilarion. He was later to bring the light into that land. Then, as we left Crete, we headed toward Rome. You will remember that we had with us Pilate's wife, whom we were to leave at that city. However, the beloved Jesus came to us and said, "Stop not in Italy, as there is already a great movement begun against Christianity. Move onward." So we did go on, and Pilate's wife was very glad for the opportunity of continuing the journey with us. Then we sailed onward to the very tip of the Iberian Peninsula. There I disembarked in order to make the pilgrimage through Fatima, through Lourdes, through Orleans, through all the places that would be magnetized later. I stayed and prayed some time in each one, and the current of energy from my own heart drew down those special rays which some great soul would later vitalize. When I came to the north of France, we met the kindly Joseph of Arimathea again, and he carried us across the Channel to the magnificent Isle of Britain. As we set foot upon these shores, I carried the cup within my own hands, and all of us knelt on the sands. As we were so kneeling, the beloved Jesus manifested and gave the first benediction and ceremony of the Holy Grail. It was this etheric record into which the beloved Arthur, King Arthur of the Round Table, was to tune in so powerfully later. The cup was left by us in Glastonbury. We remained in the Isle of Britain for some time, traveling up through Scotland and Wales. We then went into Ireland, where a few hundred years later another disciple of Lord Maitreya, the beloved St. Patrick, was to render a service to life. Again, we magnetized that place through prayer, by invocation, and by devotion to God, until those mighty currents stood as a living pillar of vital fire and light. Into this pillar of light the mighty Patrick walked in his outer consciousness, not even knowing of this preparation made for him by those who went before. Even so, he felt that strength and fire which enabled him to bring the Christian faith into Ireland. How seldom does mankind know the prayer, the invocation, the magnetization, and the application that makes their ministry possible as they place their feet in the shining footprints of those who preceded them. We had a lovely stay in the Isle of Britain, which was destined for a great future. Here Francis Bacon, now the beloved Saint Germain, desired to establish a United States of Europe, hoping, if it were successful, to extend it to the rest of the world. Here also the beloved Jesus gave a blessing through radiation that one day all mankind shall see in its fullness. We left 3 of our party in Britain and started the long journey home around the Rock of Gibraltar through the Mediterranean. I was so glad to see that lovely old granary, and I was glad to see the seeds that I had planted fully grown and bearing a fine harvest. It was good to see the trees we had planted grown so tall and strong. I was delighted, too, to see the beloved brothers and sisters who rushed forward to meet me, and then to kneel down in the privacy of my own little room and kiss the ground of Judea. Thus, at the close of this trip, was our great mission accomplished. After that, I had but to abide within the patience of the great law until my call should come, until I should hear my beloved son say, "Mother, your hours are accomplished. Now come home." Thank you for your loving interest. Good evening.